for a minute, but yesterday we got all this rigged up. We kind of cleaned up the master material, and I created my default perimeter structs here. It's way easier to do this now that I've kind of cleaned up the height map generator to not take as much random bullshit and only take things that make sense now. So the next step is actually taking this and setting it up in a way to I did this yesterday off stream actually, but basically, so I have this function. It's just, it takes in that struct that we just looked at. That struct contains fields for every single property in the material for the master planet material. I'm only doing the planet randomization for now because I want to get this right before we move on to like randomizing the atmospheres and the rings and things like that. Because those materials will probably need some work still to get them to like a perfected state before we bother doing this. But the planet material, I truly feel, is about as good as I know how to make it. So yesterday I created this function. It literally just goes through and sets the passed in material values for every single field that we want to be able to set. These three should be fine except this. Should be this. This is correct. So we do these two things. These are what allow us to update it on the fly. Let's take a look at this. Okay, these are the right settings because it has our updated gradient in there. It might just work. It looks like it might just work. Flow, we'll call this relative atmosphere size. Set its default value at like a 1.2. That's what we've been using. We're gonna need another one. Relative ring size, it does the exact same thing. Except the target will be the rings. Ooh, that curry's spicy. It's good. So there's a secret to making good curry, and that's that you go to the Asian food store to buy your tins of curry paste, and make sure that you buy the tins of curry paste that don't have any English on them. All Chinese or Thai. It'll come out good if you throw that in with like basically anything. All right, let's save it. Let's test it. That looks promising. If I scale this up, does it change? Doesn't seem to. How about rotational? I don't think this is updated. This looks like the old material. Doesn't have the same ridge lines and such. I mean, we can get down close to the surface and see. No, this is the old material for sure. I know what's wrong. No, what is wrong? Wrong. This should be NT Planet Master. There we go. Beautiful. There's some beautiful little comments. And it really does, like, once you see it in comparison, it looks so much better. You get, like, these little archipelagos, little island chains from mountain ridges under the water. It looks just massively better. Improved in every way, shape, and form. All right, so that's great. Now, if I go to planet settings, I should be able to do things like... Yep. All right, everything seems to be rigged up. So now the fun part begins. Yeah, I spent probably a month and a half building this material at this point, all the component pieces and just experimenting with it, trial and erroring, beating my face on that wall. But now that the wall's broken down, things are going to start happening really quickly. Because to go from this to a random planet generator, once we have the master material working pretty good, it was pretty simple actually. So let's go in here and hang on, let me finish my curry. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a proceduralization harness. Like we have planet settings. We'll do a second planet settings. And we're about to revisit something that I haven't used since I was working on the Octree stuff long ago. Before I took a hiatus, like this is almost half a year ago at this point. Which is the idea of using a randomization core. Man, would you stop? I don't know this one-handed while I eat. They should be... And this should not be this. ST. Here it is. All right, so what's the idea here? Well, our octree contains these nodes. And this node contains all this information. Right? Shit, I don't remember what some of these things do. But basically, we can take some things from here. Temperature, composition, node type potentially, size. And we can use these things to initialize a series of random values deterministically for this guy. And then we can feed this guy back into our material and get drastically different effects. Now there's a few other things we're going to need to make here. One, we need to make a basket of all the noises we wanted to pick from, probably several baskets, and then we'll have to go back and like trial and error those and figure out which ones look good and which don't. Almost done here. So the idea is we'll basically fill out these values randomly using these values as seeds so that we can select a given node in the octree, and assuming that we always select the same node in the octree, it will always generate the same planet or star or whatever. That's the idea of this whole thing, right? On the macro scale, above planets, whatever, solar systems, stellar clusters, galaxies, all of these can be controlled with this, which is the whole idea of it. Okay, let's do this. This should be pretty easy. We'll create a function. We'll call this randomize take this stuff. Was this just setting material initially? Oh, fuck. Alright, so this should take node data as an input and output our stPlanet parameters. And we don't need the planet material. Alright, so there we go. This is the address in the tree, the index in its parent, the depth of the tree, its center, its size, the bounding box of the node. This is the size of the thing. This is the box of the node. Its seed, if it's activated or not. Its locational offset from the center. We won't worry about that yet. Right now, we just want to use some of these. Okay, this is okay. So let's do that. All right, we're gonna need some texture boxes. So this would be a texture 2D, an array. We'll call this color and C color gradients. Volume texture. We can call this noise content. And river valley noise. Valley. God damn it. valley noise. Alright, and then to each of these, so land color gradients, let's add all of our AI generated stuff that we made in our new workflow for generating these gradients. This is the fun part. This is where it all comes together. I guess I could just order them the same and only use one. Yeah, we'll do it like that. Radioactive. Rocky. Rusty. Terra and Toxic, I think, is the last one. Were there any others that I missed? Nope, that's the whole contingent. No. Son of a bitch. There it is. Okay. So now BDLR RST. Looks like we actually accidentally just went in alphabetical order anyway, so it makes sense. We were just selecting from the list. Terra and Toxic. There we go. value turbulence. Fornoy. Okay, great. Let's actually perfect. So much faster. Okay. We need a random stream. And we will create a random stream from our seed here. Great. Now here's all our controls. Hook temperature up here. We'll leave light color the way it is now. We would eventually work that in, but that would come down from another layer above, right? Like we would want that from the star. So we'll just leave it at white light for now. Temperature's fine like this for now. Light origin's fine. Light brightness, I think we'll leave as default. Actually, we're just gonna leave all the light stuff. Leave all the light stuff the way it is. Let's get our land and sea gradients. Alright, land and sea gradient covered. We'll call this cur random scalar. So you have to run a set. Like if you do multiple calls to random stream for the same type of data, then you'll get the same value unless you do some kind of way to hit like basically an execution pin. So normally you do a set, but we don't want us to set variables for all this shit. So what we'll instead do is use the same variable and just randomize it to different stuff as we go down the list, right? So why don't we do this? We'll do set because we're going to need this. Okay. And we can do the same thing here too. So like for instance, because we're doing random here, we'd probably rather do a set. So let's do float in range from stream. We know that our current light brightness is a 2, so let's set like a 1 and a 3 here, just so we get a feel for it. You're gonna set here, move it here, plug it in here. All right, we're not gonna do the others. Next, land albedo. This is gonna be tricky. Tricky enough to where I may have to figure out a better way to do it, because the land albedo is also dependent upon the texture you're using. But we'll do like a 0.025 to 0.075. This ain't gonna work. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. Might be able to use this though. Alright, never mind. I take it back. Okay, so in that case, all right. There's not a way around it. I don't think we're gonna have to. Let's leave light brightness out of this because all of these are gonna come from the star, right? And if I'm gonna have to actually make fields for all these, then it's gonna be a real bitch. Call this This is fun because it'll be the only one referencing it. So I think this is actually fine. And these are operating on different arrays, so it'd probably be okay. But if it's doing weird stuff, then we'll figure it out. Okay, so we're gonna need we'll probably leave these alone for now. Skip the land specularity and roughness. This is more of a proof of concept than a final product. What's the hotkey for this again? I thought Alt drag got me a... There it is. I'm going to use Shift and desat. C L beta. C U Shift. C desaturation. Alright, great. And with the current values, we're getting this, which looks pretty good actually. So we'll allow the U shift to range from 0.5 to 1.5. And because we're doing them in separate sets, we can do the, oh, that would be too much. Okay, CL beta is currently at a 0.1. So let's randomize it between like 0.05 and 0.1. Plug that in. And desaturation. CD saturation. We'll have a desat. Another one of these. We'll run desaturation from 0 to 0.5. great. Let's leave these two untouched for the moment, and also we can just shoelace these together. All right, so since the select random from, oh no, it's not. Fuck. All right, so we will need fields for these. P No, fuck. All right, let's drag selectors for these, or setters, that is to say. There we go. This is where the biggest amount of variation comes from, because it's extremely powerful. It's powerful for us to be able to change our underlying noises we're using on the fly. And if we were to, say, get a bunch more volume noises from somebody, or go spend a little bit more money on some extremely nice volume noise, although I have got no complaints about the volume noise pack I bought for $5. That's the best $5 I've spent doing something like this for sure. There we go. Alright, so we're going to need 4 linear colors. We'll do the kind of unique ones first, because the rest are just going to be scalar parameters, which are pretty easy, to be honest. I mean, all of these are pretty easy. But there's a little bit more to it for doing the colors and the colors and the textures than there is for just scalar parameters. Bam. Try something like this. also do this. We're just going to go from the seed for now, including for things like temperature. So we'll do one more. They made a fucking, yeah. This is just nice because we can have a couple of them sitting around here where we can access them. Okay, there we go. So this is going to be a random offset vector creator deal. These are all normalized, so it should be fine. Using separate invocations, so it should also generate new values each time. Alright, everything else appears to be scalar. 3, 6. I mean, fuck it. Let's go down the list. And I'm putting P in front of all of them just to represent this like private, like internal value. I don't know. There's probably better ways to say it, but whatever. Okay, so there's those three. Continent scale. Base height. default to ridge set. Now we get to the big ones. Duplicate. Sea level. Let's ignore sea transition for the moment. We'll jump right into mountain scale. I view like sea transition as more of like a universal deal. Okay, on to valley stuff. Valley scale. Shit. This is an inconsistency in my struct. Okay, valley scale, valley. Distortion amount. Ridge exponent. Fall off, multiplier, river level, and we can ignore the river transition. We'll leave that. Okay, so first of all, this stuff's all the way rigged up, so, or at least as rigged up as it's going to be for this. So you can move you aside. Now this guy's not rigged up actually, and we're going to need, I would like to keep everything kind of organized in the order it gets set in the material itself. So let's kind of order these guys into their own little segments of groups of stats. Go, there we go. Mountain noise, mountain offset, valley noise, valley offset. And let's work from the bottom up here. Holding Alt, grab you, grab you, grab you, grab you, you, grab you. Great. Okay, so I'm gonna actually disconnect these because I need the default values. We can just order it for now. All right, now I need float in range from stream 0.5 to 2. Let's do 0.5 to 4. Ridge exponent's at an 8 right now. Let's do like 4 to 32 or something like that. 4 to 16 maybe. 4 to, let's do 32 to start. We can always come back and tune these values. Inland fall off. That should be between like 0.1 and 0.9 or something like that. Value multiplier we can run from like 0.75 to 0.1225. And river level will run from 0 to like 0.2. There we go. All right, there's our valley controls. Push them all over here together. Come on, come on, come on. View up here. Save it and compile it. Alright, so these controls are done. Well, almost done. Connect all of this. And this is what will be set very last. So at this point we can go hook back into our output node up here. And then finally, we're gonna need our random stream connections. Here, 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 here. Okay, great. Got these done. Straighten everything up a bit. Alright, one set of parameters down, one to go. Oh, no. One set of parameters down, 3 to go. Not one. I wish there was only one left. Okay, next is going to be the mountain stuff. So, mountain multiplier, ridge exponent, no, set, fool. Set, you fool. What? I held the Windows key instead of Alt. Oops. Eventually make a struct to bound all these ranges, and then we'll be able to fine tune it externally. I should have probably done that to begin with, honestly. Just like basically, you don't have to worry about the vector or only the scalar parameters, but replace every scalar with float 2, and then you can just set the bounds for all the randomization. But we can always add that in. It's not a destructive change to add that in after we get the proof of concept working. So fuck it. We'll just do that for now. So amount multiplier. Let's go 0.5 to 1.5. Mountain ridge exponent's gonna be like 4 to 32 or 4 to 16 or something like that. I'll do 4 to 16. Mountain scale probably stays somewhere between like a 0.1 and 0.5. And mountain distortion amount, what are we at right now? 1. Let's do 1 to 2. You here. You here. Alright, that's another set of parameters. Most of the way rigged up. We gotta still plug these boys in. It's easy. And hook up the laces. Hook up the wires. Alright, content settings. We're doing sea level, fault to ridge offset, base height, distortion amount, scale. That's it. Alright, great. So starting from the bottom, sea level 0 to 1, easy. Or it's actually probably more like negative 0.5 to 0.1 or something like that. Negative 0.1. There we go. Put them together. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 more. So there we go. Continent fault ridge offset is currently at 0.02. This is generally pretty small. 0.01 to 0.0. 0.01 to 1. 0.1. Sure. Should be fine. Continent base height, we can go like a 0.3 to a 0.8. Continent distortion amount, we're at a 1 right now. We probably don't want to go much over like a 2, so like a 0.5 to 2. And continent scale, let's go from like 2 to 8. There we go. And queue up, queue up. Connect, please. Oh, fuck me. Come on. Alright, continent noise is almost done. And I think instead of having a no data as an input here, what's the seed? Just an integer. Let's just have a, for now, a seed. And what we'll do is we'll pass in, like, we can do this logic outside of the planet because we're going to need to pass in like derived colors like light colors and things like that anyway. So we have our colors rigged up. We have our continent, mountain, and valley stuff rigged up. The only thing left are the distortion, noise values, which should be easy. Should be able to start spitting out some random planets here pretty soon. Boop, boop, boop. Take one of these, paste it over here. Distortion 1 scale. So we don't want to go much under 0.05. Let's do like a 0.03 to like a 0.1. Likewise, this one we're at a 0.25. We'll go like a 0.1 to a 0.5 or something like that. Should be just fine. And one more. Internal distortion amount. How much are we feeding it right now? 0.25. So we'll do a minute like 0.15 and a max at like 0.4. There we go. Stack our distortion parameters in the same area. Rig up the laces. And basically this is how you make a proceduralization harness. It just takes a lot of work setting everything up, but then once you get to the point where like you have everything working the way you want it, it's a lot of busy work. Just a big mass of sets. Save point of material. Do a bool. All right, so right here we're passing in the planet settings, right? But instead what we want to do is French. And if this is true, this is false, we want to do this. And if it's true, we want to use our new function that we just wrote. As far as I can tell, that should do it. What's our default value? Not checked. That's fine. Default value here is 0. That's fine. All right, let's go fuck with it. So now we have this guy. Downsize all this. I probably have to move it to trigger the construction script. That didn't do anything. Shit. Set a breakpoint. Okay, it didn't change anything. Okay. I think we have to do one more thing. I use wait. Okay, that's right. So we should have a breakpoint here now. Let's change this 50. Okay, we don't get that breakpoint, I guess. Let's do. Toggle breakpoint here. Toggle breakpoint here. The fuck, man? Well, for one thing, let's just go ahead and do. Yes, it's not properly outputting that struct. Okay, so I think what we gotta do in here I'm in this stinking function here. Why do I not have my private variables? What the fuck? Beautiful. All right. Except it should be like this. And then here, nope, nope, yep, 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 yep. There we go. Drag this little guy right down here, start switching the wires. So this actually goes to here, and then this goes to here, and then this goes to here, and this connects here. This gets deleted and yeeted. Alright. Let's not, it's still messy, but this should hopefully do it. Alright, let's shit. Alright, I mean, we're close. We just have to figure out why it's not randomizing. Alright, come in here, instruction script. Next. We just were never returning, basically. Temperature. That would explain quite a lot. Why is it upset? Stream pin. Missing, yeah. Yep. Alright, these are the kind of problems I generally expect to happen, because it's just a huge mess of shit to connect. It's very easy to miss a few wires here and there. Okay. Bio? No. Epilogue? Random array item from okay, that's one of our array selectors. Yeah, here it is right here. Boop. Boop. Save it. Yeah, we got a huge shift. That means it's working. Alright, so continue the execution, toggle the breakpoint, continue the execution. Nice. Let's turn our atmosphere here off, or at least turn it way down in the blueprint. Turn just visibility off on it for now. There we go. Nice. Okay, so now here to our blueprint. Pretty cool. Now we can just spit random planets all day long, billions of them. Oh yeah. mean, there's definitely still work to be done on parameter bounding. But yeah, that's fucking cool. Send you to not the origin, but like we might be a little too close to the sun here. Where did my star go? Was that it? That's it. Okay, too far. There we go. Very nice. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. All right, I am very, very excited about this. Is it getting lit somehow? No. Oh. Dirt. And like, not all these gradients are well tuned at this point or anything like that, but this is fucking sick. There's a nice little island planted in there somewhere. I'm thinking let's increase the hue shift range. Get even more color variation here. So inside here, could probably also increase the C desaturation ranges. Let's go like -0.2 to 8. Nineteen, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28, 9, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Let's, for now, because it seems to occasionally have problems with it. So now we need to do the same thing to the atmosphere parameters so that they get randomized as well. We'll need to do a lot of work making our gradients nice and clean. We could planet type, which would correspond to the color schemes we pick, could conceivably be picked from above by like our randomization framework, and then eventually we're going to want to hook this into the nodes generated by our octree. So we should have int max minus int min number of planets at our beck and call here. They're not all going to look great, but it seems like a lot of them look pretty good. So the final planet in our range is an ocean planet. The final planet in our range in the other direction is also an ocean planet, but like a neon green one. Or just river scale is too big. So now's the point where we want to take a clone of these guys and probably rig them up in here, but it's actually doing astoundingly well considering I've done almost no tuning of the randomization ranges. Like, you expect it to break the first time you hook this up, and it actually just works really good. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched, dude. Sorry, I wasn't looking at my chat. But yeah, so we got about 6 billion different planets now, and we can make new types of planets in about 15 minutes each in a prompt engineering workflow I set up to generate color height map gradients. I just have ChatGPT generate the gradients, and I can plug them into a little local web page I made that will render them on the screen and output them to PNG files, or I think it's PNGs. Then I just have to go in and add a luminosity map to it and output it as a TGA and add it to the basket of color combos that we use. Now, like, some things, like, I'll probably end up making the type of the planet derived from above. I don't know, maybe. I think at this point it'd probably be almost good enough to do so. The biggest challenge to overcome, what I basically bashed on for the past 4 weeks, is coming up with a good height map generator that generates height maps from procedural volume noises. So I think I have yet to see a better way of combining noise to get realistic output without having to do like erosion simulations and things like that. So what we're doing is we have 2 layers of volume noise. One distorts the other, and then that forms our base distortion noise for all the other noises. So those noises, put them off to the side. You got 2 noises. The first one's a small frequency distorting a larger frequency, and then we put that in off to the side, and that distorts everything else. Then we do 1 billow noise for our continents, which will look sort of like cracks, like fault lines, basically. And the big breakthrough, I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to get realistic mountain placement for a long time. It's like, because the last version of this, it looked okay, but it was just splatting the mountains kind of randomly. It didn't look like it would really make a lot of sense. So what I realized is, in real life, you have your fault lines, and then offset from those fault lines a little distance, you have an area where the land folds up, right? So what I ended up doing was taking the same continent noise doing one billow noise filter, which gives it kind of like a cracked appearance, and then one ridge noise filter, which gives it like a ridged appearance, and then offsetting that by a random small amount, offsetting the UVs by a random small amount. So we just kind of like shift it a little bit to some random direction, right? And what that ends up doing is the same underlying structure that creates your continents also creates your mountain ridges. And that was the secret. That's what kind of cracked it all wide open. Like once I figured that out, then you can use that. You can use your like higher resolution mountain noise with the ridge noise to raise up your mountain ranges. And then the last thing I do is I create something similar to the mountain noise, but uncorrelated to the continent layout. And it's flipped. And that's used to basically subtract out valleys and kind of fake erosion. And with that combination, so like you could kind of see on, let me see if I can land on one that has all the features. There we go. You can kind of see it like forming ridges that look like they might be realistically formed, and then all these little tendrils that look like erosion are basically from the valley noise that I was talking about. And like, don't worry too much about the color anomalies here. All this comes from like a basket of gradients, and I haven't done much tuning on the color gradients themselves. This is the first day, so like this is the first day I actually rigged it back up into a proceduralization harness. I've built this from scratch probably almost 5 times now. And the problem is that when you go to make this random, I'll show you. Okay, here's the proceduralization harness, and this is a lot better than it looked before, because believe it or not, the noise I'm using now has less parameters to set than the noise I was using that looks worse, and it also performs better. It has less texture samples and whatnot. So every time I go and I overhaul these noises, I have to reconnect. I have to completely redo this, and I have to completely redo this every time. And so at a certain point, I stopped taking my next iterations of Planet Height Map, Planet Material Masters, and doing this with them until I got one that I was absolutely completely satisfied with, because I didn't want to have to do this over and over anymore. So I did that. The other cool thing here is I'm not displaying it because I haven't proceduralized it yet, but I also have an atmosphere shader in here that uses like realistic kind of scattering, physics-based scattering stuff. So like if I come over here, there it is, atmosphere, visible. Yeah, so this is the output of about probably a month and a half of fucking with this shit. And like, it's set to 2 dense right now. But it has some other cool features on the atmosphere, like it increases in brightness as the screen space decreases. Because normally, if you zoomed really far away from the planet, you would kind of lose it. I mean, you still lose it eventually, right? But normally, like, you wouldn't be able to see it from this far away. So we run a little bit of logic on the atmosphere and the planet shaders that calculates its screen space, and inversely increases its luminosity as you get further away from it, and that gives you the ability to like kind of track where the planet is from a distance. And then once you get a little bit closer, it starts fading back in and you can actually see it. So I still need to basically set up proceduralization harnesses for the ring and atmosphere textures, and I need a cloud layer as well that I'm going to have to put in there. But that's all relatively minor compared to the complexity of coming up with the planet master material here. This was really the most difficult part of it. You can also just turn this off and actually manually control it if you wanted to do something more specific. But this is kind of what I was talking about with like the natural appearing mountains and such. Like if I go down here, and obviously it's meant to be viewed from like no closer than atmosphere level really. I mean, you can go inside the atmosphere shader I've got, but the effect is going to break down a little bit. But because I'm deriving my mountains from like the continental lines, you get these kind of ridges that look like they would form in real life, and the mountain ridges affect the coastline and the islands and such. So you get little like island chains here, little things of that nature that I felt looked pretty cool. But this right here is the new thing, is being able to just blast through a billion different planets by just changing a seed value. And eventually, some of it would be random. Some of it would be pseudo-random. So like, when I have an octree that I can use to place these and like proceduralize all the data. And so when I'm actually generating the solar system, I can do things like figure out like, how close are you to the star? Okay, well, if you're this close to the star, you get to pick from this set of biomes, and if you're a little bit further, you can pick from these other biomes, and if you're further than that, you can pick from these other biomes, right? And then it becomes a little bit more pseudo-random, where like, oh, now you get your lava planets and your desert planets and your rocky planets and things like that up close to the star, and you get your gas planets. And although this doesn't include gas, I know how to do the gas giant. It's trivially easy compared to terrestrial planets, so it's not really a big deal. But like, and this is the first time I've had this working, and so I still need to do things like this river is too big. So inside my function for initializing this, I can go check my river controls here, or my valley controls. And I can see that my valley scale is scrolling up to 4, and that is probably too big. So let's cut that to 2. Is that too big now? I think that's probably okay. I thought they looked a little bit too big before, but that's probably okay. So like now, going forward the rest of this week, I need to basically create structs that contain randomization bounds for all the scalar parameters. That way I can edit it easily instead of having to go into the blueprint to change it. And I need to bind that up to all of the randomization stuff so that it will randomize between the ranges from the struct. And then I need to fine tune all the value ranges and try to find things that all will look good. Ooh, that was a nice one. Generating more color height map gradients is always going to be good too, but I can get ChatGPT to do that for me now. So that's like kind of nice. A lot of trial and error went into this. But if I'm being completely honest, it's the kind of trial and error that I really enjoy, which is just like fucking around with procedural noise and trying to come up with something that looks good is just fun to me. So like I'm not begrudging the month and a half I spent coming up with the right noise combination to make this happen. And now I know it by heart because I've been doing it so much. I could reproduce this pretty quickly, I think. I like doing deep dives on stuff in this. I don't necessarily like care how long it takes for me to complete my goal. Like, so I want to use this stuff to eventually build like a whole procedural universe that you can just fly around in, like kind of like Space Engine, right? That's my goal. But I don't really care how long it takes me to reach that goal. I just like deep diving on stuff. So like I want to pick up something and do it as good or better than like a AAA studio. And I want to spend as much time as it takes to figure out how to do that one thing really, really good, you know? Ooh, that's a nice, like, icy blue planet. I like that. So right now we got int max minus int min planets. The next thing that we would want to do would be, like I said, I need to tune all the ranges of randomization. Like basically, instead of yeah, this is then you probably know what I'm talking about. Like I'm not a game dev. I am a software dev. I do like regular business shit, but I just do this as a hobby. And like you can probably commiserate with rewriting a very complicated material like 5 times over the course of a month and a half until you land on something you actually like. Cool thing is I've done a lot of kind of like experimenting with incorporating like AI into my workflows here. So I had ChatGPT spit me out this little HTML page, right? And this is just like a local HTML page that I can put on my desktop. And if we look at the code, it looks something like this. So if I wanted to imagine like a new type of planet, I go from having to like go hand do that stuff in GIMP to just saying, let's see. I thought this was super neat. This is going to save me a lot of time too. Okay, I have this template. It contains cold, mid, and warm land and sea gradient for sci-fi planets. Let's come up with great gradient stops for a obsidian planet. Let's see if it gets it right the first time. Do not name the gradient, just use the names as provided in the template. When we find a gradient we like, we can save a copy of the template. So now instead of me having to go like into GIMP and hand jam stuff, I can actually just go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, what are some ideas for planets? Oh, that's cool. What would the colors on that planet look like? And it will spit these out. And then I can paste them into this template over here. And if it looks good, I can make a copy of it and put it in a folder. And the buttons next to those gradients will export them in the size that I want them for my height map temperature gradients, because like each of these planets also has a temperature range. So like for instance, if I go back to this where it's actually controlled, right, and I go to my planet settings, yeah dude, for stuff like this where you could just have it like make you like color gradients, it's real sick. So like you can see the landscape right now, right? So if I go hotter, oops, it gets greener. It's kind of hard to see because we're far away, but so like you can do winter and summer and transitional. We're doing 3 seasons. You have transition, winter, and summer. But you can do this. You could use this temperature thing to do. You could animate this over a long period of time if you wanted to actually like have them have like seasonal shit, right? So the way these gradients work, I take this, paste it here, save that shit. No, this is the wrong one. Hang on. Where's my fucking gradient? There it is. Alright. So this is what it thinks the land and sea should look like for an obsidian planet. I'm not going to use this right now because I don't think this will look great. But basically, like, it'll spit this stuff out. And then I could, if I want to hand tune it, I could be like, I want the mountain peaks to be higher. It's easier. This is how bad GIMP is at gradients, right? It is easier to do gradients in HTML than it is to do them in GIMP. Because at least I can save them and put them in like folders and shit. And then when you're done though, you could just boop. And then I get this, right? And then all I gotta do is take this into GIMP, run a vertical Gaussian blur on it to smooth the transition between phases. Run a spread on it to remove color banding, and then export it, and you're good. So like, and one of this, every single time you do this, it represents like a new type of planet that this thing can spawn, which is cool. And then if I wanted to keep this, I could just copy this HTML file I have on my desktop here and put it in here. And then if I ever need the original thing, the original gradient that I used to make a planet type, I just come in here and get it again, right? This is a sick way to keep track of those 3 color gradients and to make them very, very quickly. Otherwise, you would have to hand fuck with 6 different gradients. Like this, I can do it in like 5 minutes, which is amazing. So yeah, it's pretty cool. The atmosphere settings for this atmosphere are wrong by default. So we want to go. The problem is it's getting the default. Okay, so it's getting the default atmosphere material. We can make the atmosphere look cooler than it does right now. Oh, but I can't do it from here because it's getting set at runtime. Yeah, so it's invisible from here right now, but what if I... There we go. Snowball Planet, right off the bat. You would, so like what I would probably do would make 3 buckets of planets, right? You make 3 buckets of planets, 3 buckets of like planet noises. You have like your rare, your like uncommon, and your common. And then when you're spawning or doing your randomization, you would pick from one more often. Pick from common like 50% of the time. Pick from uncommon like 45% of the time. And pick from rare like 5% of the time. Something like that. But you want as many of each type. And normally by hand that would take forever, but having a robot do it for you makes it kind of possible, actually. The backdrop needs work. I have to run an additive or I get artifacts. So like this texture here is entirely unlit. It's using like fake feng shading and fake normals. Is an emissive, actually. But it makes it easy to have, so like if you do it like that, you can have your star in the middle, and if I copied one of these and moved it to the other side, then it would still light up as if it was facing the star instead of being lit by the directional light. It should. We can change, like we can control the light. We'll make a function, a material function that's like our light source, and it'll take a few things into parameters. It'll take like 3 stars. It's starting to look good. This is a cool. This is a cool tool that I have put together at this point, I think. So the light's this. Okay, I see it. We need to go a little faster. Oh, that's gonna be way too fast. Fine. I've got gravity spheres for these two, and I'm going to use them as influence spheres to pull people out of like warp. So like you're going to go slow once you get like probably like this close to the planet. You're going to go real slow. But once you can pull out of this zone, you'll take off and you'll go fast until you get into the same one for the star, and then you'll be in danger, and that'll be pretty big. And there'll be like a danger zone a little bit closer that'll just fucking kill you. And then it's gonna be fun when I get the atmospheres all proceduralized as well. And the rings, we'll give it like a 10% chance to have rings or something like that. 20%. The actual like Feng shader is pretty cool. It's like I can tell the reflected light is different because we're looking at different sides of the same planet. Sun needs to be brighter and bigger though. Oh, it's pretty big. Skybox is procedural too, but I want to be able to like actually physically distribute these systems, and I think I can. The Skybox is just a placeholder for when I hook all this up to the Octree stuff, which is gonna happen pretty soon. Actually, I can already make a universe-sized collection of things, but I could also use it to make a solar system-sized collection of things, which is where we're gonna start. There's a little piece of code that I can lift from my older shader that isn't in mine yet that can also like decrease the temperature at the poles. But I think that would be better combined with like a biome type situation. Like I think I can do biomes with what I've got, because this is this material Yeah, I can't do anything with this. I wouldn't know what I was doing, but like basically, this is the red channel of height map, but there's a green and a blue channel. So like everything in this is coming from the red channels. So if I flip it to green, it'll be different, and if I flip it to blue, it'll be different. Usually higher frequency a little bit. And we can do that programmatically too. So like we can do whatever we want with the colors from this, and I could use that to do biomes, because I could use the green and blue to mark out different biomes. And I think then you could do biomes, you could use a kind of a polar gradient to control the temperature as well, and then you get like pretty realistic, I think. Oh, that was cool. Damn it. I lost it. It's lost in space now. So with like one more parameter that we randomize, we would get 3 times as many possible variants. But I don't think I want to do that. I want to like I said, I want to use it together with the temperature map to do like a biome type situation. Ooh, that was a cool little island. It's fucking cool. You zoom in on it and there, you realize that there's little pink rivers in all these. There's also certain combinations, like if you use all Voronoi noise, it'll look more like a cratered surface. And this is just randomly throwing them together, but you could bias certain combinations of noise that tend to generate like more interesting results. Although, honestly, like most of these colors have looked pretty good to me. Like it's not randomizing too far outside of the bounds I'd want. There's no lava because we're not recognizing if it should be lava, but oh, there's a lava planet. It probably should, like realistically, it should reduce the prevalence of oceans a bit. Where's sea level? No, these are color controls. Where's sea level? Bias it towards land a little bit more. Oh, that was sick. the little glowing river. Alright, so we could populate solar systems pretty easily now. We'll add a gas giant variant at some point. I think when I do that, I want to learn a little bit about flow maps before I go into clouds. Because making a gas giant and making clouds isn't too different. That's kind of fucking cool. What should be the default seed? We gotta hunt for the coolest default seed. Nah. We'll find something better than that. Finding an Earth-like planet in this mess is going to be difficult. We don't need the update planet button anymore. Not really any load time either. It was like just fucking spawn a planet, pick a number. You got it. when I'm scrolling these, it's like it looks like they're flipping one at a time, but it's actually going like 3, 4, 5. When you get in the higher numbers, 100, 100. There's a lot more to this than I'm actually seeing scrolling through it like this. Oh, it's just a water world. It's a nice rocky planet. Yeah, no problem, dude. See, I want the color, light direction, all that shit to be synchronized with the atmosphere and the cloud layers. So that's why I'm holding off on randomizing that shit for now, because it's gonna have to be tied to 2 more things. See, like, I need better names for some of this shit. But mainly, am I still setting these? I might still be setting these. Hang on. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, It's the atmosphere controls. Just a water world. The glare off this planet. It's definitely going to need to be biased towards more realistic planets and then put the more outlandish ones in a lower spawn rate. We put a set of them in there that like we'll figure out a bunch of like height map, color map, temperature maps for different types of shit, right? Like but shit that is common. Then we'll put the most common ones in a basket. And then we'll take the little bit weirder ones, the more outlandish ones, and we'll put those in another basket. And then we'll take the truly bizarre ones and we'll put them in another basket. And the baskets will be progressively smaller, right? And then we can pick from a basket and bias the odds towards the bigger basket with more common shit. And we can also have that change the bounds of the hue shift to more reasonable ranges. Like maybe like in the main basket we only hue shift by like negative 0.1 to 0.1 or something like that, which is just a slight change to like green or I think it's green or red or something. But it's not enough to throw off entirely the look and feel of the original thing. But at 0.5 you don't know what you're going to get. So like we put rarer spawns of the weirder planets basically. Which like right now we're seeing like almost entirely weird planets. And that's kind of nice. This is probably about how hard it would be to find an actual Earth-like planet. Oh, there was one. It's gone to the sands of time now. Because right now every scroll I do is increasing by like 10,000. There's literally probably millions of these that we're scrolling through right now without seeing them. Alright, so we need to build baskets inside of our randomization function here. It's also not doing lava planets yet because we haven't got the logic to distinguish it currently. So we'll leave that in rare for now. This delete, 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 delete. uncommon. So with that, Alright, so now we want to sample from like proportionally weighted buckets, and actually what we want to do is what we actually need to do is make a struct to represent these scalar value randomization ranges, and then we could pass that around to different functions, and I wouldn't have to connect 50 billion wires to do it. So let's do that. To do that, duplicate. You first. So these are going to be external. This is not proceduralizable. We'll leave in the spec and roughness now, even if we're not going to use them, because I could see those potentially being useful in the future. Alright, and then instead of we don't want the gradients as a part of this, and then all of these is there no way to just get a oops? No. All right. I think this is my stopping point for the night, but I think what I can do is I fucking changed the wrong struct there. I had to go fix it. But what I can do is I can create a struct that instead of being one texture, one blah, 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 it'll be a bounds, like some vectors, I guess, is what I'll use. And we'll just use the X and Y as bounds for all the factors. And then it'll have baskets of textures, whatever baskets we want to set up, right? And then we figure out some algorithm to pick from those baskets of textures in a function. And that function can take things like light direction and things like that that would be externally determined, like distance from the star, into account. And like we could divide them up into hot planets, cold planets. All right.